couple things to note about a sketch to stretch. And the first thing is that there's no right way to do this. Right? It's the explanation that goes with it that helps it to be right. And so what I mean by that is this is my version of what growth mindset means. In my head, it made sense that a bunch of arrows going around in circles and getting bigger and bigger kind of showed the act of repeating something and getting bigger and better at it. Now, somebody else might look at that and be like, no, that doesn't really get at it at all. That's not what I think about. And that's okay. This is your interpretation. This is your belief. This is what you think represents it. And the symbols you use might have particular meaning to you that they don't have to other people. So as long as you explain it and give the explanation and make a connection to what you're trying to show, then you're right. And that's the cool thing about sketch to stretch. So think about it that way. There is no right way. The way someone else does is not any more right than the way you're doing it, as long as you have an explanation that makes sense to you. The other thing is it's a sketch, so it shouldn't be really fancy or look super good. Now, this is actually, I'm pretty proud of this one, to be honest. I actually did erase a little bit and redraw it, so note that I kind of cheated. This isn't my first sketch even. But, right, like this is nothing that you're going to see in a museum. It's not some beautiful work of art. That's the whole point of a sketch. A sketch is something you can do fast. It gets the point across, right? Like this is not at all how a human head is shaped. It's kind of messed up. I don't know, this looks a little weird back here, but fact of the matter is you get the point. That's a head, there's a little mouth, and there's some spirals going around, and there's some green arrows, right? Like nothing brilliant, right? I didn't color in between the lines. It's a little messy, but the fact of the matter is I can still explain it. It still has some symbols that can make the point, right? So that's the point. You want to do it quickly and just get some big key features. You don't want to have too many details because the more details you have, the less likely they're actually going to fit and symbolize or represent what you're talking about. And finally, we might find new meanings that we didn't even plan while we're explaining it. And that's a great thing and doesn't mean we're making it up. So for instance, for this, I drew these arrows originally. I just randomly chose green because I was like, oh, I should have some color because I can use color. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, that's kind of like trees. Oh, wait, hey, cool. I made these arrows moving up, right? I was just making, an arrow up is growth, right? But because they're green, I'm like, oh, no, they're like trees too, and that's growing. I didn't do that on purpose at first, but then I saw that and it made some meaning, and I was able to put meaning to it. So again, I didn't make that up, even though that was not my original intention. So while you're making your explanation, you might see some other things to it that make sense and that you can apply to it and add to your explanation to make it have even more meaning. Same thing as when somebody else sees your sketch to stretch, they might see some things that they think has more meaning and make connection to it, and that's not wrong either. That's a really cool thing about this, that you can actually build a whole lot of meaning together off of things that maybe you didn't mean right off the bat.